What's going on, guys? Alec here from Oz Fury Gaming. So I've been a bit behind with information, guys, but it's because I've been waiting to see if there's any other little tidbits coming out. So let's get stuck into it, shall we? So Around the Verse had for us a beautiful array of Drake interplanetary information, mainly the Cutlass. So here they are, guys, showing off the old versus new build, and you can see the new build is actually a lot larger, so more cargo space definitely inside that bad boy. Moving on from there, they were showing off the cockpit and how it's going to be able to get into the pilot and co-pilot seats. As before, it was a bit of a trick, real tight to get into it. Now they made it a lot easier to get there. This looks to be a turret placement, so you can just sit there and get up. But I was a bit disappointed they didn't show too much of the interior. So I'm thinking they've got a bit more to finalise. Next from there, they were showing off some actual in space flight, and look at the engines, the afterburns, like the way the flame comes out of the main thrusters there, looks so cool. And I do love the cockpit look too. It reminds me very much of the Buccaneer. So I'm just really impressed, guys, with how they've been doing up the ships. The Freelancer Dur and those ships still need an update pass. Same with the 300 series, and a few other of the older variants are required for an update pass. But well, we can look past that, can't we, and just enjoy the Cutlass for the meantime. So with all this rework being done, guys, they had a bit of lore shown off, talking about what happened with Drake and how it came to be and all that sort of business. So let's get stuck into that, shall we? So they're showing off here that basically there's quite a few number of people die every year from outlaw raids and things like that. And then they go on the show and say that 2/3 of the ships are actually Cutlass Blacks. So that's a bit interesting. I want to point out too, the Cutlass Black is one of 3 variants. There's the red, which is the actual the first responders, so like basically an ambulance fire truck, and then they've got the blue, which is actually the police. So they went on to sort of show a bit about what happened when they went into Drake Interplanetary for a fake job interview. So let's check out how that goes, guys.
Your resume is quite impressive. As you probably assumed, this last interview is really more of a formality.
Can I ask a question?
Ask away. Unless they're salary related, that goes through HR.
Of course, of course. I am curious about the Cutlass Black. Have you considered including mandatory background checks for buyers? You know, to avoid selling to criminals?
Listen, what happens after a Cutlass leaves the showroom isn't my problem. When there's a murder, do you blame the killer or the person who manufactured the gun?
So after that, guys, they were showing a bit of lore here, talking about how she ended up leaving the company and her son's taken over, and a whole bit of other stuff happened. Next on the agenda, guys, is they were showing off the animation capturing. So putting the dots on people, and they walked around and did stuff. So that was pretty cool to see. Just sort of getting into a bit of emotion of how, and understanding, I suppose, of how things work. So here they are, just showing the animation work. I've sped this up by 3 times because it takes way too long if we're trying to smash through all of this info. So next on the list after that, guys, is they're just showing off some bug fixing. Showing here to the testing of if someone falls over or dies, and making sure limbs don't push through suits and suits don't detach and or get stuck and things like that. And they're just general bug fixes like this. I want to point out too that it says a landing pad when they're looking down. See, it says landing pad there. So I'm curious to know if you can just press F and you can actually call your ship in from there instead of having to go through the like the actual ports, like in Port Olisar. And there's just some more bugs going on there, guys. So after that, they were showing off too how they've reworked the shop system a little bit. Shown here with basically clothing on what that means. So here they are, they've got boots on and they've got shirts and a set whatever, and they put it all together and make it work. And oh yeah, that looks nice and fandangle, but it'd be nice if it came as a set. So they said what they've done is they've actually made it you can buy each piece of clothing separately, or like on the mannequins, if they've got a complete set, you can walk up to it and actually buy the complete package. And they basically talked about how they can just do that on the fly without really needing to do much. So if week by week they can actually change out a mannequin's clothing, so they've got different styles, and they can even do seasonal styling if they really want to. I'm not meaning to go to anyone there. It's just I'm not much of a fashion person. I just wear clothes, and if they're warm and comfortable, that's the way I like to do it. So here they are, guys, in the actual shop with the naked mannequin. They come across, they go, righto, there's our package, select it, and we'll just throw it on the mannequin pretty much. It's pretty cool stuff how they've been able to do all this, and this will just streamlines everything, which makes performance a lot better for in-game and on servers.
Game locations holographic.
So on the next part, guys, they're showing off the subscriber flare, showing here that basically the different space stations, you'll be able to get that as a subscriber flare, and also 2 ship schematics, and you'll be able to look at them in your hangar and have them and all information attached to them on the different ships, which is really cool to see. Next on the list, they were showing from the guys making Spectrum, the Turbulent showed how they're going to be redoing all the ship manifestos, the different guns and the different hard mounts on each ship, so that actually makes more sense instead of just being TBDs and stuff, or being really sort of out there. And then they were just talking about how they were going to actually implement that also too into the basically the 3D or the hold view, as they like to call it, showing off how you'll be able to actually see the different hard points properly, because some of them are actually, well, most of them are fairly buggy. Then they just sort of talked about Spectrum in itself, showing off how they've been added your thumbnail links and showing how that's been working, and then they showed off too how the different threads are going to come in with multi-threading and nest threading. And then also too, they were showing off a bit from Ben Lesnick. So have a listen to this, guys.
So 2.6 came out. Are we going to see a 2.7, you think?
I don't think so, no.
You don't, so it's going to go right to 3.
I think that's the hope right now. I know they are putting together the schedule this week, the actual in the weeds detail schedule for everything left we have to do. Aaron is here today. He's off to Austin to work with producers then, so it's we're gonna have something soon.
That's cool. So we'll be able to see the production schedule at some point on the production schedule piece inside of RSI's website to tell us when we might see, hopefully around Gamescom 3.0.
Hopefully before that.
So guys, this is interesting stuff because it means that all the Outpost work that they were shown in the Round-the-Verse 2 means that they're actually getting close to the 3.0. Now, don't release the hype train just yet because there's obviously a lot more time than things be done. Ben Lesnick just said there that the actual internal production schedule should be hopefully finalised next week for what they have left to do, if you didn't quite catch it and got too caught up in the hype. So, guys, they're showing off here the mining module 2. So this was all in around the verse, basically talking about procedural outposts. The last couple of weeks, we've been talking about procedural space stations and outposts and things like that. But this week, they took a real in-depth look at how the outposts will be put together and how we'll be able to actually find them and make it work. So after seeing the mining module fleshed out there, guys, with color and everything, they were showing off the hydroponics here. So we've seen this as a concept art, or just as an image sort of moving around in ATV in the last couple of weeks, but they're showing off here what it's going to look like at the scale with a person in there. So that was really cool to see. Also too, they were showing off the storage real quickly. So if you're not aware, guys, basically when it comes to building an outpost, they're going to have 3 different sections or modules that can be attached to the outpost, besides just general hallways and stuff. You're going to have a storage section, a mining section, and a hydroponics section. So hydroponics will obviously grow food. Mining will grow, well, not grow, but obviously do mining of minerals. And then you'll have storage to actually store all that stuff before you transport it out. Because it would kind of suck if you made all the stuff and you couldn't actually move it. So here they are, guys, showing off more of the tech, showing off just what it's like to build it and how it's been going. And then they talked about too how they're trying to make it so from a distance where you can actually see a silhouette or the look of what it's meant to be. But yeah, it was really cool here to see that they've actually got some finished artwork put up, showing what it's going to look like, all coloured in and nice. And they went on to talk about how this is not just the final colours. They're hoping to make different colours for different areas and have different sort of looks and decals and stuff for it. But this is, they literally call this the concept proof, right? So it's a final form of the basic concept. It's just amazing that that they've just got this such fine detail in a basic concept for what they want to do. So just imagine what it'd be like when we get to final game and they've actually got all this stuff fleshed out and finally finished. So I'm going to talk more about the Outpost here, guys, because they had heaps of stuff to show, and they showed here the actual panel work, so what it's meant to be like when it comes to actually building with modularity. So we've got the different colors and the different decals there, different panel works, and they said that basically what will happen is you'll be able to randomly procedure generate outposts to a certain extent. They haven't talked about what it's going to be like to actually build an outpost. I reckon they'll say that for 3.0 for us to learn and find out. But I'd imagine it'd be sort of similar thing that you go, okay, I'll put a building here, and once you place a building, it'll be an empty shell, and you can place your module there if it's available. So the one on the show here, guys, what it's actually going to be like to place it though. Like if you got a outpost, how it's going to work. So they said originally they found that it kept clipping through the planet and looking pretty ugly like this, and they go that they didn't really want that. So they decided that they'll build legs. So they put legs on it and they made it all higher up, but then that of course brings another issue. How do you get up to the main door? So they talked about they had multiple different ideas and they tried a ramp, but they had a 15-degree angle on the ramp, which they said is pretty narrow or shallow, and they found that it was like, a massively long ramp. So they're like, well, okay, this isn't going to work. Let's try something different. So they decided to pull out a multi-stage ramp like this, but like, it doesn't work. It's too wide. It's too big. Still, we need something a bit more robust and simple. And they're like, well, okay, what's the most simplest option we got? So they went around and they tried stairs. So they said the stairs will basically grow to the length of whatever the actual outpost needs. So if you're up really high, it'll still keep going out really long, but it's just more tight of an angle, so it's not looking so stupid. And they're just showing off here too how the walls and stuff get built modularly. Note too that the legs are actually attached to the walls, not to the underground or to the underneath or the flooring of the outpost. So that was cool to see all that happening together too. I really just find that this simple stuff, which they make look so easy, would have taken so many weeks and so many man hours and stress and just pressure to get it done, because obviously they want 3.0 to be able to sort of make a proof, not just of the outpost, but of the entire game, to show that they can do it and that it is plausible. That this ambitious game is to be happening, which I believe it will. So here they are, guys, showing all the extra stuff up on top. So I wonder too if those canisters on top will actually be an actual usable thing. If you need to have more on top to have, say, storage for fluids and things for mining, or if you're going to have hydroponics, you'll need water. So is that going to be water storage? How are you going to catch water? That sort of thing. I'm really curious to see. They're showing off here the different sizes, so you can see they go really small to really big, then back to small again, and different looks on top. I'm curious to know if those are solar panels and if you'll need them to actually gain electricity for your outpost. How is electrical generation going to work? Being an electrician myself, I'm really curious to see how that's going to happen and what sort of sci-fi take or approach they have for it all. Also, to communications, can you actually see they've got a bigger tower on top? Can you actually boost communications with that array? And they've got a scanner, so can you actually scan for different ships coming nearby with that array? So I'm really curious to see where they take all this stuff. So they're showing off here just the concept art. They've got the Ursa rover there, so that'd be awesome. And this is probably my most favorite screenshot. Just beautiful green fields with the sun behind it, just showing off the pure beautifulness that is the outpost. They got one here on the moon by the looks of it. I'd say that looks like it to be yellow, and that's Crusader behind it. So that'd be really cool to see. And they've got external arrays here, so that makes me think that maybe those arrays are actually really important to the game. So here they are showing the panel work and showing how it'll actually age and how it'll ice up if you're on a planet, or like here in the sand planet, see how it gets scuffed up. So that'll be really cool to see and have fun with. I'm going to be curious too of how you can actually find minerals. If you come to an area, do you have to have a prospector or something to scan for materials? Do you need something like a freelancer dir to actually scan for the materials there too? Or how do you know what minerals are where? And here they are too, showing off a different planet, guys, the ice planet, and showing off how they get icicles on the thing. So talk about like fidelity and fine details. It's just beautiful. Here's another shot showing the basically the outpost being pulled apart section by section. It's just the stairs being ripped off there, and showing what really goes into an outpost. And like I said, because it's also modular, they go on to show later a heap of shots of just randomly spawning them. But when you buy an outpost, you go, okay, I'm going to buy like a six room outpost, and I put this over here, and then you select the inside, or do you go, okay, I want 2 mining and 1 hydroponics, okay, it randomly generates like this. I'm going to be really interested to see CIG's take on actually allowing us to buy and build outposts, because they said that you can't do that. And also, too, I'm going to be curious to see what the security is going to be, because if you've got mining and hydroponics, right, that's resources that you're making on a primary industry scale. How are you going to keep people from stealing that? And how are you going to, and can you break into these things? Can you get onto the roof and cut a panel out and get in and steal stuff? It's going to be really amazing to see what they do for defenses and security in 3.0 for this sort of thing, because I haven't touched on that at all from any video that I've seen and from my recollection. So I'm just going to be curious. So that's the blown up view there, guys, so I hope you enjoy that. It's just, to me, just shows the fidelity of an outpost for it's being so small. Then here we go, guys. I was talking about they've got all the different randomized outposts, and this is just them in a massive field. I'm not sure which moon it's on. I was reading a few of the forum, a few threads on the forums and Spectrum about they reckon it could be yellow, but I'm not sure. But like I said too, see, they've got these arrays all separate, and they've got the power, like solar panels all separate. So I'd say that, yeah, you need solar panels to obviously run it, and then those arrays will be an uplink. So for example, if you're away, it'll tell you, oh, mining's full, you need to discharge the container. Or hydroponics, the plants are ready to be picked. This sort of thing. So it'd be really cool to see. And here they are just randomizing or doing the generation of outposts again and again. See, they've got a massive staircase on the one in front of us now. So doesn't matter where you really put it, guys, it'll just self-randomize. Now this tech would have taken a lot of horsepower too, but from the previous videos that I've been seeing, basically because it's all built by simplistic modularity, it doesn't take actually too much for the game to build. And see here too on the outside, those look to be storage containers. So another concept that I've got is that you come to your base and instead of having to go inside and manually remove it, say if you've got like a star ferret and you're collecting fuel, right, like hydrogen or any form of fossil fuel or something that comes out of the ground, it'll go straight into those containers. You can fly and hook up your star ferret and pump that into your star ferret where it's got those ball containers for fuel and liquids. So that'll be really interesting to see. Also too, I'm curious to know what upkeep's going to be, right? They talked about with starships that you have to replace components over time. So I imagine that Outpost will be the same. I'm not sure if 3.0 will implement those sort of advanced technical components, but I'd say it would be one thing to think about. So if you decide, like me, I want to go with heaps of Outposts, go massive into mining to use as my base income, okay, that's going to require machinery. Machinery requires maintenance. So, where do you buy the parts from? How do you service it yourself? The time to service it, you don't just if you get a bearing, if you don't think about mechanics, you don't just get a bearing and put it on a shaft. You got to pull it all apart, put the bearing on, get it to sit right, and then put it all back together, make sure it all meets up properly and that it all seals properly if you've got a sealed component, or if you've got a really rigid part, like say, you've got a tough, like a drill head that takes a lot of pressure. You need a specific part, so how do you know that that part will take the weight? So here we are, guys, walking into an outpost. They're showing off what the bare bones outpost looks like. Here they are, which looks to be a storage area, and then walking into this, which looks to be the mining area. So I'd say what my belief would be is that you can get a main base, and you can just add on buildings as you go. So if you go, okay, I want another mining module, right? I'm mining, say, gold, and there's heaps of gold here. Okay, I'll throw on 2 or 3 extra mining modules to keep mining that gold. Now here, guys, is showing off what I think is an actual finished outpost. So before it was just a touch on outpost, this is what it roughly looks like. Now this looks like to be the real deal, showing off how it's going to actually be fully implemented and fully in the game. Now, I'm not saying that this will be in game. I'm not saying this will be the only outpost in game either, because here they're showing off an actual, like, what looks to be like a study area, something that can take log of all your resources, so you can maintain what's in there, like a storage sort of personal area. So that'd be really cool to see. Now, guys, that's all I've got for us. So I'm just going to leave you with a couple of screenshots from the subscribers den showing the Buccaneer. These are some amazing artwork that's been done. It would be awesome to stick up as a wallpaper on your PC if you're ever thinking about it. But note here, see the yellow on the engine set? That doesn't actually happen to the Buccaneer at the moment. So thanks for joining in, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope to catch you in the verse, and toodaloo.